When you first came to Congress, it was the 1980s. It was the beginning of what later became the AIDS epidemic, and that was a very early priority for you.
Yeah, one of my motivations for running for Congress was to address the AIDS issue. Let me just say, I told you about being from first grade to going away to college, my father. I had no interest in running for public office myself, because I could just see how all-consuming it was to the principle, and how other people could participate in politics and enjoy it, but yet had terms that were familiar to them, like weekends and evenings and normal and the rest. So I had zero, less than zero. I mean, I loved political involvement and civic involvement. I was a library commissioner and the rest, but I had no personal ambition to run for office. In my book, I tell how that just on a dime, like from one day to the next, changed, and I was afforded the opportunity to run. But the AIDS epidemic at that time was raging in our district, and people thought, and I was confident, that I could be a person who could make a difference on it. You know, mother of 5, had these 5 children in 6 years, so now they were older. 4 of them were in college, and one was going to be a senior in high school. And I'll just tell you the story and then move on to AIDS. So when this opportunity came to run, our member of Congress took literally deathly ill, and she asked me to run for her seat, which I thought was going to be like a year and a half later, and I said, well, we'll see, this or that. She dies. She has endorsed me before she dies. It's a woman sort of indicating who she wants to be her successor. Men do that all the time, but this was woman to woman, very unusual. So I go to my daughter, who's Alexandra, whom you know, Julie, and she's in the journalism field, a documentarian now. But I said, Alexandra, Mommy has this chance to run for Congress. I haven't made any decision because I want to know what you think, but any answer is fine. I love my life. I love being with you, this or that, because the other 4 were already gone. And so if you want me to stay here, that's fine. This is just, like 3 nights a week. I'll be in Washington, and my husband and she are very close, and as he is with all of the children. So after all this sincerity, just pouring it out, and I'm trying to convince her, it really doesn't matter, one way or another, I'm okay, Alexandra. She says, Mother, now I knew when she said mother, not mom or anything, Mother, get a life. Now that was 26 years ago. So I never even heard the expression. Now it became a cliche over time, but that was the first time I heard it, and that was her response. So what teenage girl would not want her mother gone 3 nights a week? You can identify with that, some of our younger visitors. And so I did get an additional life, and came here. The first day I was here, I got sworn in, and my colleague said to me, well, there was an election in between, but a colleague said to me, whatever you do, when the speaker swears you in, you just raise your hand, say, yes, I do, whatever, and don't say a word. Because you're elected in a special election, nobody wants to hear it, so I'm like, now, my father, who had served in Congress, was there, and he had floor privileges as a former member of Congress. My constituents, the Baltimoreans, the San Franciscans, the women, everybody's there, but I'm not to say one word. And so I get sworn in, and then out of the blue, or maybe not, Speaker Wright at the time said, "Would the newest member of Congress, the gentlewoman from California," I think he may have said gentle lady, from California, like to address the House? Oh my gosh, I was not supposed to say a word. Now,
you didn't prepare anything?
So of course I acknowledged my parents, my constituents who sent me there. And then just to be brief, because when I looked up to these people, they were like, short. Just to be brief, as I acknowledged, thanked, paid my respects, a few less time than I just did. And then I said, when I go to Congress, I will tell them Sala, that's the Congress, Sala sent me, and I'm here to fight HIV and AIDS. So I go down thinking, that was really short. And they're looking at me as if, how could you have ever said such a thing? Why would you want the first thing that anybody knows about you to be identified with HIV and AIDS? Why did you say that's why you came here? So I said, well, for one simple reason. That's why I came here. That's why I said it. But imagine that in '87, we had a president in the White House who wasn't mentioning the word. They thought that I, coming from San Francisco, all of us shared the experience of holding people in our arms until they died who were just healthy a few years earlier, would not mention that. But that really was my mission, and got myself on the committees of jurisdiction that would increase the funding for care, for prevention, and for hopefully finding a cure and maybe a vaccine. But I never thought 25, 26 years ago that we would project to now and still not have a cure.